My name is Jenna. I am here to do an informational video for anybody that can't attend our open gyms and/or our informational meetings, which we do have coming up here in the next couple weeks. But just wanted to do this video to kind of share with everybody who I am, what OPV is about, why I started this club in the first place, what our philosophy is, and what you can expect from investing in our club. So in 2013, I found myself at the very young age of 26, the head coach of what was then Wilson High School in Portland. I had gone off to play in college at California Lutheran University, Cal-Lu, in Thousand Oaks, and had a great experience. I was a starting outside hitter. My team went to the NCAA national tournament and placed in the Elite Eight my freshman year, and from then on we just were a really successful team, and I loved my experience at Cal Lutheran. And because of going there, I had an assistant coach who had his own club in the area, and when I was a freshman, when I was 18 and a freshman, he asked me to coach one of his 12s teams. And I said yes, even though growing up, my parents would always tell me when I was complaining about one thing or another on my teams, when you're a coach someday, you can do it differently. And I would say, I'm never going to be a coach. And the joke's on me because now this is one of my main careers. And, so anyways, I coached for his club. And then one of my teammates, her parents had a club. I coached for their club for 3 or 4 years. So moving back to Portland, I had 4 or 5 years of coaching under my belt and was asked to be the head coach at Wilson High School, which is now Ida B. Wells. From there, we had a lot of success and made some history for the school, making it to playoffs for the first time in school history. And, I spent 3 years there helping that program, and then I became the head coach at Multnomah University. But going back to Wilson, I was noticing as the head coach of that program a couple things. One, I had gone back to coaching club at OJVA, which is where I played in high school. And while I loved coaching, I just was noticing that my other players that were going off and playing for some of the biggest clubs around, some of my players at Wilson were going off and playing for some of these big clubs, and were coming back to the program the next year with the same bad habits, really not having, in my opinion, they weren't developing as players. They weren't developing. And so I was starting to wonder, who are these coaches? Who are coaching, who's coaching these kids at these clubs? Because I just couldn't fathom how they could spend 5-6 months in a club paying top dollar for these teams and then coming back pretty much the same player without having developed much at all. And, sometimes that's the player. Sometimes that's the player that just doesn't want to make the changes. But it was happening so often with so many of them that I started to really question, who are these coaches? And I would ask my players, who's your coach? What's their resume? And they wouldn't know. They had no clue. Which really struck me, and I started to notice this pattern that families in Portland were signing their kids up for club volleyball, thinking that it was just assuming that it was a great investment, and then finding that really those coaches had no experience, no quality experience to draw from themselves. They hadn't played in college, they hadn't coached in college, they hadn't played at a high level themselves, which in my opinion, why would I coach? I played softball until high school. That was my main sport, and I was pretty dang good. But I stopped my freshman year. I would not presume to coach any high-level softball team. In fact, I don't know if I should coach even peewees. But, that's just my opinion. I think that context matters, and I think that with how much some of these clubs are charging for club volleyball, it should be for elite players that want to develop, whether to be the best on their high school teams, to make a certain high school team, or to go on and play at the next level in college. And so if those coaches haven't done that themselves, why would we invest in them to help our children get there. So I started the club in 2013, over 10 years ago, with a vision for three things that I wanted to fill the need for. One of those was quality coaches. I wanted a quality coach at every level for every single team. My rule was that every single team in my club would have a coach, at least one of the coaches that played in college themselves or coached college volleyball themselves, one of the other. And that was super important to me, and I have stuck with that rule since I started this club. The other main thing that I wanted to teach was the mental side of the game. I went off and got my bachelor's of science in psychology at Cal Lutheran, and then I went on to get my master's in educational counseling. The goal for me was to be a school counselor, and I have done that, but my life is so busy with other things that I really can't put the time and effort into being a school counselor full-time anymore. So I can talk about that a little later. But my point is that I was seeing the need to teach, especially women, but all athletes, this very important mental side of the game. I had coaches growing up that said, hey, well, it's 90% mental. It's 90% mental. And I could feel that as a player. I could feel that I was blocking myself in a lot of ways. But none of my coaches were able to teach me the mental side. And so it just became this need, like, why are we not teaching this? Well, we're not teaching it because we don't know it ourselves. But I then thought, well, I know it. And so I put together a curriculum full of worksheets to teach mental toughness. And that has become a pillar of our club. And when I started doing that in 2013, I think most families, probably 80% of families that came to us, weren't coming for that, and they didn't really see the need for it. I think since COVID, it has been pretty obvious that these kids are struggling mentally and that they need the help. And the beautiful thing about teaching the mental side as a part of our club, because they get a binder, they are supposed to, with their teams, have about 20-30 minutes of binder time per week. The worksheets are designed to be led by the coaches, and they go through them and they learn important things like self-talk, and why that's important. They learn about visualization and why that's important. They learn how the things that we think become reality, okay? And the beautiful thing about that is that it applies to more than just volleyball. This is stuff that they can take and apply to anything in their life, whether they're at home with their families, struggling with sibling relationships, or relationships at school, relationships with teachers. It teaches these athletes how to be intrinsically motivated instead of constantly seeking validation outside of themselves, which is something that I think is super important for women to learn. I think that girls are constantly seeking validation outside of themselves, instead of knowing how to be internally validated, and that's important. I think that women do this more than men. And it's gonna make us go like this, up and down and up and down and up and down on every team that we have, regardless of how good we are skill-wise. So teaching the mental side to me became super important, and that is one of the pillars of our club. The other thing that I saw that there was a need for that wasn't being taught was just training the whole athlete. So meaning not only the mental side, not only having quality coaches that can teach sound, good fundamentals, but also this whole other area that I saw just really take my game from good to amazing, which is speed, agility, jump, and strength training. I started doing this in high school pretty late. It was the fall of my junior year. So after junior season ended, school season, I got into a program that was teaching me this speed, agility, jump, and strength training. And I did it for a good 8 months and really heavy once the club season ended. So for 3 months, like 5 days a week, I gained 3 or 4 inches on my vertical going into my senior year. And not only that, but I gained strength, stability, injury prevention is huge, right? So my shoulder was feeling the best it's ever felt, but I really committed myself to the speed, agility, jump, and strength training. And my senior season was the best ever. I mean, I went from good to great, and then being recruited by D2s, D3s, all these schools. And so, not that has to be the goal, and that's not necessarily our goals for all of our athletes to go play in college. I think that that's unreasonable, but I think that pursuing excellence is important, and that's an important life skill to teach our kids that, hey, it's a good thing to pursue excellence in whatever you're going to do. So we have in our main practice facility our own speed, agility, jump, and strength training area. And every year we're trying to get a little bit better at how we implement this. But all of our top national teams have one of these training sessions built into their club dues and into their program. So they come twice a week for practice. They come another additional one time a week for an hour training session. And this is super important to us. So yeah, I mean, it's also available to all of our athletes as additional sessions that they can sign up for a very reasonable price. But like I said, every year we're trying to get better at this training thing and making that part of our program. But those are the three things that I think set OPV apart. And those are the three biggest things to me. And because we hire quality coaches that have quality resumes, we pay them more. And that's been something important to me too. When I moved back to Portland after having coached club volleyball in California, I was making probably half of what I was being paid in California, if not a quarter of it. And I was kind of shocked, like, what? This is club volleyball in Portland? This is crazy. And then I noticed, like, well, yeah, they're not paying coaches as much because they're willing to hire just Joe Schmo who teaches PE, during the week and has no experience with volleyball whatsoever. So I wanted to change that. I wanted to hire quality coaches and pay them what they deserve because, a lot of coaches say, well, I don't do it for the money. And that's great. And that's good. However, I think with anything that you're good at in life, whether it's, being an electrician or being a lawyer or being a dentist or being a financial advisor, you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. And why is it that we pay coaches less when they're teaching their kids these very important things? I think that that's crap. And so I decided I was going to do it differently. So we hire quality coaches and we pay them more than any other club. And that's something that's important to me. We also are constantly trying to aspire to give our athletes a quality experience. I personally, when I was growing up and playing club, I played a little bit for PBC for my first few years, and then I went over to OJVA. And to me, it's not rec volleyball. It's not, and there are clubs that feel that need of just, we want everybody to play, and so we're going to make it super cheap so that anybody can play club volleyball. And that's great, but that's not what we do. That's not OPV. We are here to give an elite experience to athletes that want to have an elite experience and become their very best. So we're looking for athletes and families that are looking to pursue excellence in every single way. We give out a pretty big gear package. And so, while some clubs maybe just give a couple jerseys and maybe a couple other items, it's the full enchilada. Backpack, shoes for top teams, jerseys that are nice and sublimated and long sleeve, sweatshirts, sweatpants, socks, knee pads, you name it, we pretty much do it. So that's important to us too. This is, to me, my club is a reflection of who I am, and I pursue excellence in my life and everything that I do. And so I want my players, my teams, my coaches, I see all of that as a reflection of me. So that's how I feel. And And that being said, I know that a lot of club directors, this is the only thing that they do. I'm super blessed to have found some pretty amazing people over the last 4 years to come coach for us, that have taken on bigger roles in OPV, that have come alongside to help me do a lot of this. And I can tell you what, I needed the help, because at one point I was a school counselor full-time. I also own an interior design and home staging company. I also am a mom, and I also am the head coach at Warner Pacific University. And so there was a time where I was doing 3 or 4 things at the same exact time. And, you know, while some club directors, this is their only job, it's not my only job. I, you know, truth be told, have hardly ever paid myself from this club. In fact, any profits that we've had usually go to scholarships, which I'm totally fine being transparent about. I'm not embarrassed to say that I haven't been able to pay myself. I'm okay with that. I mean, if people are getting a great quality experience and having quality coaches that I trust to teach them the right way to play volleyball, but also care about them as a person and care about the mental side and care about training the whole athlete, then I'm okay with not being able to pay myself, because I'm able to make money with these other, you know, 3 or 4 things in my life. So, I'm totally fine with that. And, you know, I love that we've been able to give out approximately, I mean, every year since we started, $15,000 to $30,000 a year in need-based scholarships. So that's me. I love teaching volleyball. I love teaching volleyball. I love teaching young women how to be stronger on the court, and then have that translate into how they can be stronger off the court. Stronger mentally, tougher, able to persevere, able to withstand pressure. These are life skills. And I could kind of care less if they go on to play in college or not. For me, that was a great experience. That's not going to be for everybody. What I do care about is if these young women leaving our program go on to be great people and successful in their lives. And I believe that how you do that is teaching them to be tough. And you can't teach them to be tough without teaching them the mental side of the game, and you know, teaching them to persevere and to have that fortitude and to believe in themselves and to be intrinsically motivated instead of looking for validation from everybody outside of themselves. So these are the things that are important to me. We might not be for you. We might not be for you. If you just want to play volleyball and you don't care about who the coach is, we're probably not for you. If you just want to play volleyball and you don't care about really learning who you are mentally and growing in that, we're probably not for you, because we're more than just volleyball on the court. We are quality coaches that are going to break things down and teach athletes to do things the right way. We are a group of people that care about teaching athletes the mental side of the game. We're a group of people that think it's important to also teach how to be strong with speed, agility, jump, and strength training. We know that that's a huge part of success for athletes. And so we might not be for you, and that's okay, because we are not a huge club. And I'm not trying to become a club that has, 20 plus teams. That's never been my vision. It's hard to keep quality coaches at every single team when you have that many, I think. And so I'm totally fine being a club of 10 and just making sure that we have quality coaches for every team. And if I'm doing that and our athletes are having a great experience, then I've done my job and I'm cool with that. And so if that sounds good to you, we'd love to see you at an open gym, at a summer camp. We'd love to have you try out for one of our teams. As we've gotten more popular, we're obviously getting more competitive with making those teams, but that's okay. I think that's a great thing. And we've added boys volleyball this year, which is exciting. We're doing a lot of awesome things, and we still have goals that are bigger that I think we're gonna, continue to work towards. So if all of that sounds good to you, we'd love to see you. And if it doesn't, I'm totally great with that. And that's why there are so many other clubs to choose from. So this has been a little bit about me and the club. I hope you've liked this. And of course, if you still want more information or have other questions, please feel free to contact us or come to one of our info sessions.